You've had your green card for 5 years, and now you're eligible for US citizenship. Hi, I'm Ellen Sullivan from Cambridge Immigration Law, and today I'm going to talk to you about the process of applying for and being approved for US citizenship. Before I get into all the details on this application, let me remind you that you have to be 18 years or older at the time you submit your application for US citizenship. The first question is, how long have you had your green card? If it's about 4.5 years, then you're ready to get started. We can file your 5-year citizenship application, not just at 5 years, but at 4 years and 9 months after you received your green card. So if it's already been 4.5 years, let's get started. Now, let's talk about the requirements for US citizenship. 5 years of your green card, living in the United States. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't have taken trips outside the United States, sometimes even long trips, a few months, sometimes a few months per year. That's okay if you're on vacation or if you went to visit relatives, but you have to make sure that whatever you were doing outside the United States and inside the United States makes it look like you live in the United States. Then the question is, how many days have you been in the United States? You have to have been physically present in the United States for half of the days in the past 5 years. One thing to remember when you're calculating your days, the day that you leave the United States is still a day in the United States. So don't count that day against yourself. Also, the day you return to the United States, you step foot in the United States, so that's a date in the United States. Don't count that day against yourself either. The next question to consider is good moral character. Those are words the government uses to say, are you good enough to become a US citizen? For good moral character, the government has some really specific rules and you've got to meet all the requirements of them. And it also has a squishier requirement where the government really kind of looks at you and decides whether it likes you or not. It can't deny you for any reason for good moral character, but there's a lot of things that you'll want to talk to an experienced attorney about to make sure that you don't have any red flags for the government to use as a reason to deny your application. Good moral character will consider any criminal history that you have, whether it's convictions, open court records, or even criminal acts that you admit to where you've never were arrested or convicted of any crime. Good moral character will consider your taxes. Have you filed on time? And have you paid everything you were supposed to based on disclosing all the income you were supposed to? Good moral character will consider whether you've paid child support to your dependents, as you might be required by a court order. Good moral character also looks at whether you have current or past substance abuse issues with drugs or alcohol. Good moral character looks into some mental health issues as well. So there's a lot of factors that can play into good moral character. And those are all things you'll want to talk to your attorney about before you file for US citizenship. Finally, before you apply for US citizenship, you also want to make sure that you're going to do okay at the interview. At the citizenship interview, you will need to speak in English unless you are exempt based on age. And that's for people 55 years or older who have been green card holders for a certain period of time. It's not just for anyone 55 or older. You have to have been a green card holder for 15 years or more. So again, at the interview, you have to be able to speak in English. You'll have to be able to pass a very basic English test, reading and writing. You read one sentence and you write one sentence, but that's a big challenge and accomplishment for some people, so you need to get ready. Then you'll also need to prepare for a civics test. Right now, the US is using what's called the 2008 naturalization test that consists of 100 questions. And at the interview, you have to answer 6 out of 10 correct, at least. If you get one wrong, that's okay. As long as you get 60% at least out of 10, you will pass the civics exam. The final issue with civics is taking an oath of allegiance to the United States, where you promise to uphold the Constitution and otherwise be a good citizen of the United States. So those are the eligibility requirements in a nutshell. Now let me tell you a little bit about the process as we see here in Boston. So to apply, you file Form N-400 with all of the supporting documents that are necessary in your particular situation. Once you file for US citizenship, you'll get a receipt in the mail from USCIS. You may get a notice to go get your fingerprints taken. And then your case is probably just going to sit for 4, 5, 6, 7 months until you receive an interview notice. Usually the notice comes about a month before your actual interview, and you'll be told to go to an office in Boston or in Lawrence if you're in Massachusetts, or another USCIS office based on where you live. We will meet again to prepare you, to get you confident and ready for the interview, and then we'll represent you at the interview. At the interview, you'll go over all of the materials that you submitted with your application, all the information in your application. You'll have your civics test, your English test, and you'll probably get a decision on your application that day. And right now in Boston and in Lawrence and in some other offices across the US, you'll have your oath ceremony on the day of your interview. That means that you will put your hand up in the air, you'll be sworn in as a US citizen, and at the moment of being sworn in, you become a US citizen. So that's the process of becoming a US citizen after having your green card for 5 years. This is an important step for anyone who's eligible to become a citizen. It is an important step for anyone who's going to continue their life in the United States. I encourage anyone who's eligible for citizenship or who thinks they're eligible to contact our firm so we can help you figure out your eligibility and present your application so that you will win. If you're ready to get started with us, please schedule an appointment at the website below. We're so excited to work with you.